Hi everyone. So today I'm with Dr. Verdi, my dad, and we're going to be covering Humacyte. It's one of those biotech companies. They actually were FDA approved last year. Their drug was called Symvess, and it was approved in December of 2024. So it was approved about a month ago or so. So I'm going to share my screen, and my dad will comment along on the procedures of what the drug actually does, because it is an actually interesting drug when you look at it. So this is an investor presentation report. It came out actually January of this year of 2025, early January. So Dad, can you see it on your end?
It's small, but I've already read that slide.
Okay, so right here we have that Symvess. It's off-the-shelf, universally implementable, with no immunosuppression, observed to regenerate as the patient's own tissue, which is interesting. So here also, like I said, the U.S. market launch is going to be Q1 of 2025. That's great to see. It was approved in December 2024. So it's going to be actually, they're actually going to start turning a profit relatively soon, hopefully. There is a large addressable market, they're saying, for trauma, dialysis, peripheral artery disease, diabetes, coronary bypass. Commercial scale manufacturing is in place. That's good to see. And they have also partnerships with the Mayo Clinic, U.S. Department of Defense. And the reason why they have the U.S. Department of Defense is because in the Ukraine war, they are actually administering this drug, which you could see later on in the slides, which I'll show. So a very interesting procedure. Anyway, so we have the platform and manufacturing. So this is how actually it works right here, this slide. So you have cell seeding, and a lot of this isn't going to make sense, so my dad could clear it up a little bit, but there's cell seeding. You have the working cell stock, and that cell is transferred onto polymer mesh. Then number 2 in the process is tissue formation. Cells proliferate and build extracellular matrix. Polymer mesh degrades, leaving vascular cells in extracellular matrix. And then number 3 is cell removal and packaging. Decellularization solutions clean and remove vascular cells from vessel. Enables creation of universally implementable tissues and organs. So Dad, is there anything you wanted to say?
I could say a few things with regard to the process.
Okay.
Humacyte obtains human cells from tissue and organ donors to create bioengineered blood vessels. Humacyte cell banks contain cells from over 700 organ donors. Humacyte's bioengineered blood vessels are called human acellular vessels, HAV. The HAV is similar to native vascular tissue, has no foreign cells, and therefore is resistant to infection and self-heals. It contains proteins like collagen that signal a patient's own cells to bind to the matrix and proliferate. Humacyte's in vitro manufacturing process involves placing donated smooth cells, muscle cells, on a scaffold or polymer mesh, which later degenerates. These cells form the HAV and grow for 8 weeks, leaving behind a human vascular extracellular matrix that's called an ECM. Over time, this bioengineered tissue becomes the patient's own tissue after implantation in vivo, which is in the living being. The process is indicated in adults for arterial injury of extremities when urgent vascularization is needed to avoid imminent limb loss or amputation, and autologous vein graft is not feasible. The uses are hemodialysis in kidney failure, peripheral arterial disease, for example, in diabetes, and vascular trauma repair, for example, in car accidents, gunshots, and sports injuries. Now, I could show you just a quick diagrammatic explanation of what I just said.
Wait, no, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you.
Right.
So, if you could see here, I'm going to go over with photos, so just be warned, a little bit graphic, but this is what Symvess is doing actually, or what they're treating. So Symvess in a very brief summary, is a acellular tissue engineered vessel indicated for use in adults as a vascular conduit for extremity atrial injury when urgent revascularization is needed to avoid imminent limb loss in autologous vein graft is not feasible. Okay, and then we have vascular trauma injuries here, so just be careful, it's a little bit graphic. Symvess value proposition: common causes of vascular injuries include workplace injuries, car accidents, gunshots, and stabbings, like my dad was saying, and sports injuries. Symvess addresses major drawbacks of current treatment options. So this is exactly what they're doing, or at least they're trying to do, which is pretty cool. And it seems like it's off the shelf too, and does not require. So very cool that, you know, hopefully it's affordable. I don't know. I couldn't find how much it's going to cost exactly, but it hasn't been released yet either. Anyway, 2 studies were used to support FDA approval. They have them here. This was a gunshot wound, industrial accident, and knee dislocation. So these were the ones that actually repaired, the drug actually repaired these problems, which was very cool. And I don't know, Dad, you can't see anything, right?
No.
Okay.
That's okay. I've seen those slides.
And then we have down here in the Ukraine war right now, they actually were using Symvess as well, which is super interesting. Probably that's why the Department of Defense is listed as one of the people that are going to distribute it. So Ukraine real world experiences Symvess use in vascular repair. At request of Ukraine surgeons, Humacyte supported humanitarian programs for patients injured in conflict. 19 patients received Symvess. At suggestion of FDA, patients from humanitarian program were included. 17 consented for data collection study. 16 participants had extremity trauma repair. 1 patient required Symvess for latrogenic trauma repair. So interesting again. And they're just talking about that walking once again, day 113. So this is from a blast injury, and they were walking again from it, from Symvess, because it was, yeah, pretty remarkable. And then you have the effectiveness of Symvess compared to, I suppose, like other procedures. So benchmark for Symvess efficacy was a published performance with prosthetic grafts. And then this is Symvess, and then, you know, this is how effective they are compared to the regular graft. So they're 93.8% effective, it looks like, or 84.3% depending on. So, but it's definitely more than the synthetic graft benchmark was 78.9%. So look, I mean, you know, and that's just for one of the different ones. So you have amputation rate, conduit infection rate, secondary patency, and then primary patency. So that's great to see. Symvess is durable trauma repair as well. So they were just talking about the effectiveness of that. And yeah, I mean, overall, it looks good. And I don't want to go too far deep because then it talks about their other drugs and they're not FDA approved. I just wanted to go over this because they were FDA approved, and that's important. But U.S. vascular trauma market, total addressable market for Symvess, 74% saphenous vein and 26% synthetic and other. You have total vascular trauma patients, all injuries, 79,000. Total U.S. Total addressable market for Symvess based 26,000 patients. And Symvess eligible patients, types of repair: bypass, repair, replacement, supplement, destruction or restriction, exclusions, vein injuries, things like that. And then you have drivers of U.S. commercial launch in vascular trauma, and they explain it here. It's more like corporate jibber jabber, but yeah, it's super interesting. And here it is. So the U.S. launch of Symvess will be $29,000 to $500 per unit. I'm guessing that's obviously paying out of pocket. Pretty sure insurance should cover a good amount of that, if not all, depending on your insurance. But so, you know, looks good. It looks interesting, I think. And yeah, anything else you want to comment on it before I go into the finances, Dad?
Yeah, just this one thing. With Humacyte, the basis for that technology is that they're taking bioengineered blood vessels, okay, which are created in vitro in a lab, and they are implanting them in vivo in a living human being, excuse me. And that's the basis for that technology. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is, I would say so. And these are the other slides. But okay, so next thing I'm going to show is the financials of everything. So I want to head on over to first the free cash flow on this. So the free cash flow isn't great. They have been losing money since 2020, and pretty staggeringly. So this is actually going negative free cash flow. So 2020 was negative 55 million, and now it's negative 92 million. So they almost doubled their losses in the amount of money they're making, which is bad to see, obviously. So that's a thing you need to be cautious about with this company, because you're going to see big upsides on both MyDCF and then with tip ranks. So that's out of the way. Next thing is I want to show simply Wall Street. We have that it's going to skyrocket, right? Like, this is how crazy it looks. Its current revenue is here, right? It has, like I said, negative free cash flow, negative earnings. But then they're saying that past 2025, because they're going to start, this drug is going to make a lot of money, it's just going to skyrocket here. Free cash flow is going to be 256 million a year, earnings 120 million a year, revenue 270 million a year, and that's what analysts are banking on. That's why many people are bullish on it. So we could check. Next thing is MyDCF on it, and MyDCF is going to say, go on Wall Street. It's going to say it's 82% undervalued, and that's actually going to become pretty close to what TipRanks is saying. I think TipRanks is like over 100%. It's crazy what TipRanks is saying. But yes, they're actually guessing substantial growth in this company. And if you check TipRanks now, TipRanks here, 4 buys, 1 hold, 159% upside. Now that's crazy. That's wild to see. I think this is the highest I've ever seen on this channel of that that big of an upside on the stock. So you could see the bullishness is there for it. But we'll see. We're going to have to see and take a look. But keep in mind, if you want to invest in these companies, they're very hard to predict, because it depends on the effectiveness of the actual drug being in a in a big commercial market with all of these people taking it in thousands. These were just a few hundred people, but it wasn't thousands of people taking this. So we'll see. But everything looks good. All the firing signs look good, I would say. And yeah, anything else you want to add, Dad, before I?
Is it a good investment right now?
It's hard for me to say. I mean, it depends how much risk you want to take. If you could afford the risk, I would say, yeah, sure. It's definitely a good investment, but it's risky in the sense that you don't know where where it could be in 3 to 5 years, just because the technology is new. You don't know how effective it's really going to be, especially in a commercial market like the US. Like, they're going to distribute it to 30,000 people. They only to get FDA approved, they only had to do 200. So it's, sure, you could go by that, but it's still hard to predict, I would say. It's still hard.
Medical technology of the future.
Yeah, and the free cash flow wasn't great, so, but again, big risk, big reward type thing. So it depends what you're looking for. That's what I would say. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.